Who's next?
This isn't a walk-in clinic, Greg.
Next Thursday.
Why are we in the parking lot?
She used to work here.
You trying to lose your medical license or what?
It's business,
Hey, happy first day.
is it? Not as usual.
Really sorry to bother you, but that guy sitting next to me, I think he's dead.
In an episode
Can we go somewhere private?
Bad private?
Pregnant, actually.
that delivers. New Grey's Anatomy, next Thursday on ABC.
Hey guys, so Grey's Anatomy is back, and the premiere of season 16 was amazing. I loved the episode. Now, the way that I structure these videos, if you're new to the channel, is I cover the episode that aired tonight on Thursday, and then I talk about the trailer. There is a chapter time in the video description when the trailer review begins, but I try to keep the videos roughly under 12 minutes, where I'll give more or less 6 to 8 minutes to the episode, and then 6 minutes at the maximum to the trailer. I think the trailer review will be a little less scrutinous because it only showed 3 plot lines, and we'll talk about the trailer review at that moment in time when we get to it in the video. So let's talk about Nothing Left to Cling To. As I said, it was an amazing episode, and I felt that the characters that had major spotlight were the ones that the audience truly cared about. People really like Tom Karasik. I like Tom Karasik. I think Greg Germann is perfect in the role of Tom, but his role is very minimal in this episode. He had that one funny scene with Teddy, and honestly, that was perfect for me with him. Then Glasses was, sprinkled in the episode, and the reason why I'm talking about Glasses and Karasik first is because both of them were promoted to main characters for season 16, but I feel of the 3 guys that were brought on for new characters, and the other one is Link, and we'll talk about him in a minute, these 2, Karasik and Glasses, are the 2 least prevalent to the overarching plot of the show right now. So I'm glad that their roles were very minimal. So let's talk about Alex and Joe. And Alex and Joe had the least amount of interaction with any of the cast, and the only one that interacted with anyone else beyond the main cast was Alex, and he had some really good moments, or one really good scene, but it led to it's leading to an extremely interesting plot line, I feel. But Joe is still in her depression, or she was in her depression, with finding out she's a product of rape and the like, and Alex brings her to the mental institution, and essentially they're trying to get Joe over this depression, and Joe tells Alex they're not legally married, that he has a way out, and I was like, why would Joe want out of this marriage? And I understood the dynamic, but at the same time I was like, that's just so... It was such a low blow, I felt, for Alex. And that scene at the end where he essentially asked her to get remarried, which I thought was a little goofy, just because all they had to do is mail in the paperwork. But I really did just enjoy how they went from being in such a low point in their marriage to, a really high point in their relationship. It was a beautiful scene. Camilla Luddington and Justin Chambers have excellent chemistry. And I really did love the scene that Richard had with Alex as well. Just to talk about Richard as well, his... plot throughout the episode. And one thing about this episode that was really interesting was more or less every character kind of had their own little thing to do, or they were coupled. Even Owen and Teddy, they were coupled, but Richard, he had his own thing, and then he was thrown in with Alex for a moment with Catherine, a brief moment. But I really liked how every character got to be essentially independent or coupled up. And I think, and I've said this many times in my other video reviews, that coupling characters up makes them more dynamic, and it just allows for more interesting things to happen throughout the course of the episode. Honestly, having 7 characters have their own storylines, it just becomes very difficult to watch and process. So Richard, he's working with the app. He's trying to apply for a job, which he doesn't get, but he tells Alex to get it because Alex is younger, and then Alex can hire Richard. But the scene at the end with Catherine I thought was really interesting as well, because he feels so heavily betrayed by Catherine because she stood by him with Bailey. Catherine stood by Bailey when Bailey fired him. And to talk about Bailey right now, Bailey feels immense guilt because she said, I fired my 3 favorite people, but she also seems to be a little ambivalent. They also mentioned that other doctors quit in solidarity. DeLuca says that to Bailey, but we don't know who those other doctors are. But Bailey feels immense guilt, and her storyline, which was really none. It was just kind of her dealing with the ramifications of firing Richard and Alex and Meredith was very minimal. But I like the fact that she got some form of comeuppance, which is that Tom Karasik is now Chief of Chiefs. Now, Tom's storyline, I think, will be more fleshed out in the next few episodes. So, Bailey didn't get to do too much. Catherine, who, is amazing. I mean, Debbie Allen is such a powerful actress, and quite frankly, so is Chandra Wilson, but their roles were also relatively minimal, which I found a little unfortunate, at least on the part of Bailey. So, let's talk about Maggie and Jackson. I did not care for them breaking up. Maggie and Jackson, Jaggy, is such a good couple. And now I know there are people out there who will very much disagree with me on that, but I really, really liked Jaggy. I felt there was a great chemistry, and I thought that Maggie would be more receptive to Jackson's crisis of faith, but I guess she was not, and they broke up, and at the end of the episode, she's like, I hate you, Jackson. And now there's an obvious rebound, which I think is a little stupid that Jackson's having a rebound, but whatever. But I did not care for that breakup at all. I'm curious how the whole Avery... Richard's last name is Weber, even though Maggie's last name is Pierce. The Avery Weber family is very broken right now because Richard isn't talking to his wife, and Jackson isn't talking to his stepsister and girlfriend. Either way, that family's in shambles, and I really hope that they can get back together because I think when the four of them are collectively together, they're a stronger unit. So let's talk about Owen, Teddy, and Tom. As I said, Tom had a very, very small role, but he did come in where Teddy, gave birth to the baby, and he's like, oh, well, it looks like you are choosing Owen. But he's like, you'll regret it and you'll come back to me. I doubt Teddy will come back to Owen, or Teddy will go back to Tom. But I really did love that scene. I thought it was hilarious. Again, Greg Germann is absolutely perfect as Tom Karasik. Owen was more so used here as comic relief. I've said many times, it's since season 12, the show has had a 50-50 split of comedy and drama, and I think that the comedy was very prevalent in this episode, particularly with Owen and Teddy, like where he said he asked to milk Teddy, or offered to milk her, which it's weird, but it's hilarious, honestly. So Teddy, essentially, Teddy's having a tough time handling motherhood. She has a nice moment with Bailey, but Kim Raver also kind of underused, but again, they coupled Owen and Teddy to be like a humorous part of the episode. Their scenes are funny, but they don't really stick out too much, but you at least know that they were there and they had a role. Amelia and Link, their relationship blossomed quite a bit, and they were a big part of this episode. Again, the same thing was happening with Maggie and Jackson. Granted, their relationship was the opposite of Amelia's and Link's. But we find out at the end of the episode that Amelia is pregnant, which I have to tell you really shocked me. I can't believe that the writers of the show would make her pregnant after what she went through with Private Practice with her baby Christopher. If you haven't seen Private Practice, please watch it. Season 5 and 6 are phenomenal. But I really loved Katerina Scorsone's delivery. I liked when she got to talk to Karina DeLuca. That was also really interesting and just a fun scene. And then Meredith. Now let's talk about Meredith. Meredith, she had 1 or 2 scenes with DeLuca, but the rest of her scenes are really comedic. She was completely used for comedy, and I love that. Like, Ellen Pompeo is so funny. But when she got to be serious with the court scene, that was great. But my favorite scene of the entire episode was the sister scene with Maggie, Amelia, and Meredith, and they're talking about Maggie's breakup with Jackson. But Ellen Pompeo's scenes, they were all essentially comedic, and we'll talk about Meredith a little bit more in the trailer review because I think she has more to do in the trailer than she did in the entire episode. She's essentially dealing with the ramifications of what she did with the insurance fraud, but apparently the season is going to be really focused on how the medical system is broken, and Meredith can definitely be a catalyst for that plotline. Overall, because everyone was essentially coupled up, minus Meredith and Richard, more or less, everyone had something to do, but it was really quick, but everything was very, very perfect. This is how Grey's Anatomy should be, where you're essentially getting interesting, dynamic plots that are going to starting in one episode and it'll be done in a few more, but also and everyone has some form of interaction. And there was one medical case which Jackson and Maggie brought into the hospital, and that tied a majority of the cast together. It tied Amelia to Maggie and Link as well, so they all got to do things. Glasses in, Kim got to be there. Joe and Alex had no part in this. Owen more or less was in it as well. But again, the medical case at least allowed the characters to know what's going on in their own lives. There's also a big time jump. I believe we skipped like 5 weeks into the future. So overall, I would say Nothing Left to Cling To was a perfect episode and a fantastic premiere for Grey's Anatomy for any season. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was much better than the season 15 premiere. And I think season 16 is going to be an excellent season. Now, let's talk about Back in the Saddle. That is the title of episode 2 of season 16. And the press release says, the doctors operate on a man who crashed into Maggie's car. Owen, back from maternity leave, struggles with Tom's supervision. Meredith's recent firing doesn't stop her from diagnosing those around her. Richard and Alex start anew, and it's not easy. Now, at the end of the episode, Meredith gets a call, an email, I would say, from the medical board, and she finds out that her license is in jeopardy. I can't imagine that her license will actually be revoked, because this season 17 of Grey's Anatomy, and she needs to work in the hospital. Now, the press release talks about how the doctors operate on the guy that crashed into Maggie's car, and Owen back from maternity leave struggling with Tom's position. That is not in the trailer at all. The trailer includes the line where Meredith is diagnosed nose around her, and it includes Alex and Richard starting anew. And the press release has nothing to do with Amelia's baby. So the trailer shows 3 storylines, which I liked, and there's also 2 additional storylines that are coming to this episode. So that's 5. I wonder which one will be the A and the B. Episode 1 of season 16 didn't really have an A and a B. It just kind of had one massive storyline that just like spun out into like little sections. But I think this episode will go back to how Grey's Anatomy is set up, where it's like, here's A, here's B, and then here's minimal C, D, and E. So the trailer shows Meredith, turning her mandated community service into a clinic. That was in the longer trailer and the short trailer for the season as well. I think that's great. But then, the super of the community service, it needs some form of medical attention, and Meredith brings her to the parking lot of Grey Sloan, which is smart because in case she needs to be rushed into the ER, they're right there. So I thought it was funny. Again, Meredith and the showrunners are using Ellen Pompeo to be funny, and I think that's very refreshing. I have a feeling that Meredith's license being suspended is going to be an ongoing issue for at least until the mid-season finale, and then it should be resolved. Alex and Richard working in the worst hospital in Seattle. I feel that'll be more humorous than dramatic, but I have a feeling that Meredith's part with the super is going to turn from funny to dramatic. And then Amelia being pregnant with Link's baby. I can't believe that they have Amelia being pregnant again. As I said in the episode review, I just think that's crazy just given what happened in her practice. But, this could be a new fresh start for Amelia. I think I need to see how Katerina Scorson is going to play the role and how Krista Vernoff is going to write this storyline out, because Amelia, when her brain tumor was removed, she became more receptive to being in relationships and to wanting children and, being more domestic. Prior to that, Amelia was very much against it. So I'm curious what's going to be going on here. And also, Amelia and Link's relationship is brand new. Like, will Amelia be getting married? And Amelia talked about in episode 1 that she wasn't ready to dive all in. And being pregnant could cause that to happen. So there's quite a bit to come out of Amelia's pregnancy. And I think, so Amelia being pregnant, there's a lot going on there. And then Meredith with her license, that's another big issue. I'm curious what will happen also with Owen dealing with Tom being the chief of chiefs, but I think that will simmer out soon enough, especially once Teddy comes back. And I do hope that no fights break up between Teddy and Tom, but I have a feeling that Owen's storyline will be like a minimal one, along with Alex and Richard. But I could be wrong, and I'm looking forward to episode 2 next week. So anyway, share your thoughts about both the episode and the trailer in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so happy to be back with Grey's Anatomy coverage, and I'll talk to you guys real soon. Bye!